There are at least two ways to select specific data out of a NumPy array, and we've seen both. Last class we talked a lot about Boolean masks, but today we're going to cover fancy indexing. So as you can see, let me just make this a little smaller. As you can see, fancy indexing is a term adopted by NumPy to describe indexing using integer arrays instead of specific numbers, or some kind of slicing where you can put 1 through 8 or 1 through 2 or 1 through 2 with using the colon. Examples of how we might use it is if you're given a set of data that looks, something like this, then maybe you want only the ones who are grouped into group 1. In other words, you want the 1, 2 to come out, and maybe the 0, negative 1. And then you might look at group 2, where you get 10, 15, and 12, 13 to come out, and so on and so forth. So we're going to use fancy indexing, and we'll show you how you can use Boolean masks to do the exact same thing. You might already sort of have an idea of how to do that, but we're going to concentrate on this idea. And I don't know where the name fancy indexing came from, so don't ask me later on. Okay, so this is video 14.1. We're going to talk about fancy indexing, NumPy arrays, scatter plots, fancy indexing, grouping of data. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. And I've got, I think this is exactly the same data that I had in the previous. Let me just make sure. Yeah, negative 12, negative 19. Yeah, so this is exactly the same data that we just had to work with. So well, let's look at, let's see, group really equals to 1. Remember, this is sort of how you do a Boolean mask. So what happened, if you look down here, you can see that it's true, false, 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 true. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0 and 4 would be the index. If I was going to now just look at data and just grab the 0th and the 4th one, the index that I would need. So how do I get that? You may remember np.where. So if you do np.where, you can say, well, group really equals to 1, and instead of it coming out as a Boolean, a bunch, 6 Booleans or whatever, it'll just come out as 2 numbers, right? So you get 0 and 4. And again, we've talked about this already, but I don't know if you understood and that it was actually a fancy index that we were doing. Okay, so the next question might be, well, how do I get the data out of it? So data, so this one's going to use fancy indexing, np.where group is equal to 1. And you can see that we got out the 2 that we were looking for, right? So I said that was 1, 2 was in group 1, and it sort of matches up with each other, and then 0, negative 1 matches up with that. So that I mean, if you wanted to, obviously a Boolean mask would work too. That one might be easier in this particular case, but you will eventually need to be able to do this kind of work. So, all right. So let's do something with it. So group the data and do something with it. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm sort of in the second category here. What if we print group 1 / in data. Matter of fact, I'm just going to grab this one right here, Control C. E. So we got that. So group 1, and then let's do something with it. Let's go maybe /n will get me into a new line. Let's just calculate the mean. And I'll just put another comma in here, and then enter, and then hopefully Control V. Yeah, it does. And so that will put out the 1, 2, and the 0, negative 1. And then maybe we want to do this /mean, and then obviously we want axis equals 0. We want to do it by rows. In other words, I want to find the mean of this and the mean of this one to move forward. I got that little X there. Maybe I got too many. Yeah, looks like I got too many of those. All right. Okay, So group 1, 1, 2, 0, -1. The mean is 0.5. Yeah, okay. So 2 minus 1 is 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. Okay. Suppose we want to do it a little different. Say we say G is equal to, will that be 3? And then we'll do print. So let's do exactly the same thing here. Let me just copy paste it. And then instead of 1, we'll let it be G. Let it be G. It's F9. All right, so that actually is group 3, but look what we got here. Well, that's no good. So hopefully you're thinking that maybe I should turn this into an F string, and that will work, hopefully. So let's do that. 9. Okay, cool. So we got group 3, and if you wanted to put a space in there, you could do that too. Okay, so now I could just change this to 2 and run the same code, and we could get whichever group that you wanted. Another way to do that, all right, so again, we could just go for G in group. We'll start off this way. This is not going to do exactly what I want it to do, and I'm okay with that. Just copy this. We'll paste it in here, and then we'll tab it over. All right, so it's not going to do exactly what we want to do, but let's see what it does. Okay, so it did a group 1, group 2, group 3, group 2. Do you see what it's doing? It did too many, right? So it did all. So even though it sort of grouped this stuff together, it did one for every single element in group. It did it one for one. So how can I get rid of that? That's one of the things that we talked about, or at least I think it did. No, maybe not. Maybe this is a one that we're going to do in the future, but we'll start it off right now. So we'll do np.unique. You at least have seen this before. What is it? What do you think np.unique does? Obviously, it just goes in and will only do the first 3. So if 2 is not unique here, it won't do it. So it'll just give us. So let me just run that. Let's just run this code. I'm not sure if you know, but you can just highlight that and just run that. And what it does is it gives you 1, 2, and 3. So run this again, and now we're I think what we want, right? A group 1, a group 2, and a group 3. And if this were not sorted, say, and I think the reason why it's sorted right now is because I put them in as 1, 2, and 3. If it wasn't sorted, then maybe you could do an np.sort on top of this unique. So np.sort on top of this. So this would always give us something, hopefully. Right, so it gives us the same thing, but only because these were already sorted. All right, so that's pretty fun. Let's now graph the data. And the way that I want to graph it is I want to give it a couple different colors. So maybe we have colors. How many groups do we have? 3. Okay, so we have 3 groups. So we can say red, maybe red for group 1, maybe blue for group 2, and maybe orange for group 3. So we got that going for us. And then colors is equal to np dot array. So I want to be able to grab it with this fancy indexing. And if you just do, oh yeah, so you won't be able to do it unless you make it an np. Able to see colors, I can't. We did. All the x values. Go rows in column 0. So that's our NumPy array that has all of the, again, if you don't believe me, you could just run this F9, And you see it's all the X values. So if you go back here, let's just run data. So 1, 10, negative 10, 12, and so on and so forth, right? So that's all the X values. And then give me all of the Y values, which is in column 1. So these are all the rows in column 1. So column 0, column 1. And so we have that, and we could do that right now. Here, let's do plt dot show. We'll make it better here in a second. So I think all this will do is give us a bunch of dots, and it does. So it gives us all the dots that we're looking for, but it doesn't do what I want it to do. In other words, I want one group of these dots to be red, one group of dots to be blue, and one group to be orange. I'm not sure which one is which, but I'm not super concerned with the actual colors. So the way we do that is say that color is equal to, so we're going to now pass it here, let's just colors and then group, right? Because group is a NumPy array, colors 1, oh, we don't, so check it out. So if I do this right now, it's going to give us an error. Let's see. I'm going to give you guys a second to figure out why that is an error. So what should I do to this thing in order to make the error go away? It says 3 is out of bounds. So let's go back to colors, 0, 1, 2. But I only have numbers 1, 2, and 3 in there. So what I need to do is subtract 1 from each one of these, and then I think it will be set. So let's try it again. If not, there we go. So it looks like the first group 1 is red. So those are my 2 red ones. Group 2 is blue, so 2, 10, 15. So it's the ones that are up here are blue, and then orange is the ones that are negative. So those are the 3. So 3 is this one, and 3 is the last one. Okay, so hopefully you think that's pretty neat. You're going to need that in the k-means class. So when you're trying to solve that problem, you're going to need to be able to color your each one of your points based on what current cluster they're in. All right, so let's highlight some. Let's do something a little different. Let's find, and I think this might be in the Jupyter Notebook as well. So random. So I'm going to randomly pick a couple of these. So random dot, and there's better ways of doing this. I know that, because the problem is you could pick 2 of the same one, right? Length of let's see, of data, and I'm going to pick 2 of them. So I'm going to pick 2 random points, and I'm going to put a circle around them. In other words, I want to highlight those 2 points. And I mean, I could give it 1 and 2 or something, or 1 and 3 or whatever, but I'm just going to randomly do it, just to run it a couple times. So plt.scatter, so this should be exactly the same thing as in here. Matter of fact, I'm going to copy both of these. I am super lazy when it comes to that. So that should be exactly the same. And then let's put our circle around the 2 points that come up. Now the difference is it's data. So which 2 points are we? Whatever 2 numbers come out of here are the 2 points that I want to put around. So I'm not going to do all the data in the rows. I'm only going to do the 2 that matter of fact, let's run it F9, and let's run this and see how many. Hopefully we picked 2. So it picked 2 different numbers. So it's going to put a circle around the X value. So those are the X values because it's the first column, and then data 1, and you can see the Y values. So 0, -1, and 10, 15 is what I'm going to put a circle around. Those are the 2 numbers because those are the ones that came out. Now the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to let color equal black. Make it a black circle. You could do whatever you want to here. We're going to let the face color. So the face color equals none. What that does is it stops it from coloring the entire thing in. I don't want a big giant black point on top of the point that's already on there. I want it to be nothing, and that's what that does for you. And then we got to make it big, and so size equals to 200. So in other words, I want it to be a little bit bigger than the dot that's on there. And then alpha, we can put alpha equals 1, but let's see what it does without it. Okay, so alpha, all the alpha does is sort of, it makes this a little more transparent. So if this were on top of another, so in other words, if there were 2 points that are really close together and this were on top of another point, then it would make it a little bit more transparent. So we can go ahead and put that in. Alpha. I don't know, see what 10 does. It's not, you can't really tell the difference. Let's see, 100. Okay, now we can start telling that it's a little bit. So I think you could tell the difference if maybe this red was underneath that one. Maybe you could tell about alpha equals 1 or alpha equals whatever. But you start telling the difference as this number gets a little bit bigger. Okay, well that's all I got for this one. Hope you guys got something out of it, and we'll see you next time.